It was the kind of headline that made the internet stop scrolling. Melody Shar's kids just landed a major Hollywood deal. People blinked. Wait, Melody Shari? The same woman who once spilled her soul on national television, who turned her heartbreak into a storyline, and her resilience into a brand? Yes, that Melody. But what if I told you this was not just another reality star gets lucky moment? No, this story runs far deeper. This is a tale of a woman who refused to break, even when everything around her tried to shatter her. Because before the lights, before the fame, there was silence. A small Alabama town. A woman with eyes full of unspoken fire. No entourage. No filters. Just dreams that stretched far beyond her surroundings. When Melody first appeared on Love and Marriage, Huntsville, people thought they were meeting another TV personality. But what they got was a phenomenon. She was articulate, sharp, fearless, a woman unafraid to stand tall even as her world trembled beneath her feet. She did not just want fame. She wanted freedom. She wanted power. She wanted her name to mean something. But here is the truth no camera ever fully captured: behind the laughter, behind the glimmering makeup lights, a woman was breaking. Her marriage? Crumbling. Her trust? Torn apart by betrayal that millions would soon watch play out in real time. Her dignity? Tested under the harsh spotlight of the internet's cruelty. Every episode felt like a battlefield. Every argument, every tear, dissected, memed, mocked. And yet, while the world watched her pain as entertainment, Melody was quietly building. Brick by brick, heartbreak by heartbreak. She turned humiliation into strategy. She turned gossip into gold. Her story stopped being a scandal, it became a revolution. Because when she spoke about independence, women listened. When she talked about rebuilding, people felt it. She was no longer just a reality TV figure, she became a symbol. A warning. A blueprint. Proof that you could be betrayed publicly and still rise privately. But here is the twist no one saw coming. While the world focused on Melody, her children were watching, too. Mariah. Martell Jr. Tank. Mello. Ariana, Sugar Mama. They saw it all, the late nights, the silent tears, the grind that never stopped. They learned that success is not handed down, it is fought for. They absorbed every ounce of her hustle, every scar that turned into strategy. And now? Those same kids, the ones who watched their mother fight for her name, just stepped into Hollywood. A new generation of Sharis. Not because of luck. Not because of connections. But because a mother once refused to be silent when life tried to bury her. This is not just a comeback. It is a warning to anyone who ever underestimated her. Because the same fire that nearly destroyed Melody just lit a new dynasty. Fast forward to today, and boom, the internet explodes. Melody Shari's kids have just signed a major Hollywood deal. The timeline goes wild. Twitter threads. Instagram reels. YouTube commentary videos with titles like Nepotism or Destiny. How Melody played the game better than anyone else. The world cannot believe it. How did this happen? Was it a fluke? Another case of fame breeding fame? Or, was there something much deeper, something calculated? Because, as it turns out, this was not luck. This was strategy. The kind of long game that only a mother who has been through the fire could master. While most people saw Melody's kids as just reality TV offspring, behind closed doors, she was quietly training them. Not for the cameras. For the future. Acting lessons. Screen tests. Private coaching. Every move planned with precision. These were not random extracurriculars. These were weapons in a long-term plan, investments in generational power. Melody knew what she was doing. She had seen how the industry chews up the unprepared and spits them out. She had lived it. So, she built her children differently. She gave them armor, not of privilege, but of preparation. While others pushed their kids toward fame, Melody was crafting something else entirely: legacy. Now, let us talk about this deal. The details? Still under wraps. But insiders are whispering. A major production company. Potential partnerships with Netflix, maybe even Disney+. A family-oriented project centered on positivity, resilience, and entrepreneurship. Sound familiar? It should. It is practically the manifestation of the Shari family brand. It is as if the universe finally matched Melody's vision, or maybe Melody manifested it herself. But of course, the internet being the internet, the critics came crawling out. Nepotism, they scream. She is using her connections. And yes, Melody has built connections, powerful ones. But let us be real, connections might open the door, but talent is what keeps you inside the room. And Melody's kids? They are not just tagging along, they are owning their moment. They have charisma, presence, the kind of natural screen energy you cannot fake. They are not riding their mother's fame, they are expanding her legacy. And that brings us back to Melody herself, the strategist, the protector, the woman who has walked through hell and somehow came back with a map. She is not a stage mom. She is a shield. She has seen the Hollywood machine up close, the predators, the manipulation, the pressure that can shatter a child before they even understand who they are. That is why she has been so careful. Shielding her children from overexposure. Keeping them grounded while the world buzzes. Teaching them that fame fades, but character endures. She does not preach success, she models it. She is raising her kids to believe that real power lies in purpose, not paparazzi. What makes this story so powerful is not the Hollywood deal itself, it is the journey that led to it. Because Melody's story is not about privilege, it is about pain turned into purpose. She did not have connections. She did not have money. She did not have anyone clearing her path. What she had was grit. She clawed her way up from rejection, from heartbreak, from being underestimated. There were nights when she cried herself to sleep wondering if she was doing the right thing. Times when the betrayal was so deep it felt impossible to recover. But she did not stop. She rebuilt. She rebranded. She rose. And now, her children's success is not just a win for her family. It is a victory for every single mother who has ever started over with nothing but faith. It is proof that your past cannot define your destiny unless you let it. Of course, the internet would not be the internet without controversy. The haters swarm like clockwork. She's using her kids for clout. She's trying to stay relevant. This is all PR. But the people who truly know Melody, they know the truth. This is not exploitation. This is protection. She has been in those rooms where dreams go to die. She knows how fast fame can turn toxic. That is why she waited. That is why she made sure her kids were ready, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. This is not about chasing the spotlight. It is about owning it on their own terms. Because this is not just a deal. It is a declaration. Mariah, Martell Jr. Mello, Ariana, Sugar Mama. They are not just the next Hollywood kids. They are the next blueprint. A generation raised not just to seek success, but to create it. Melody has turned her pain into power, her struggles into strategy, and her name into a legacy that will echo long after the headlines fade. So, when you see those kids on your screen, smiling under the bright lights, remember, they are standing on the bricks their mother laid with blood, sweat, and tears. Because what Melody built was never just a brand. It was a kingdom born from chaos. And if the whispers are true, if that Hollywood deal really is the beginning of something bigger, then the Shari family is not just rewriting their story. They are rewriting the narrative of what strength looks like. If Melody Shari's children are stepping into Hollywood now, it is not because someone opened a door for them, it is because they built one themselves. Because their mother raised them that way. Strong. Grounded. Self-aware. The kind of children who know that fame means nothing without purpose, and purpose means nothing without heart. This is not about money. It is not about vanity. This is about legacy. Melody is not raising stars. She is raising pillars. She wants them to know what it feels like to earn something, to carve a name that is not borrowed, but built from sweat, pain, and persistence. People see the glitz now, the photo ops, the red carpets, the headlines. But what they do not see are the years of silence behind that smile. They do not see the late nights she spent balancing side jobs and motherhood. They do not see the moments when her gas tank was empty, her fridge half full, and her faith hanging by a thread. They do not see the cracked hands, the unpaid bills, the tears she wiped before posting a picture that said, "I'm fine." Because behind every success story, there is a version that never made it to Instagram. The one written in loneliness. The one written in sacrifice. That is where her strength was forged, in the quiet, brutal spaces where dreams either die or are reborn. And hers? Was reborn 1,000 times. Every red carpet smile hides 100 nights of exhaustion. Every award glitters over a history of being underestimated. Melody's story was never about luck. It was about choice. Every morning, she woke up to chaos, and chose courage anyway. Every time life broke her down, she chose to rebuild. She chose faith over fear, purpose over pity. So when people criticize her, call her too ambitious, too confident, or too much, she just smiles. Because they have no idea what she has already survived. It is almost funny, isn't it? When a man shows drive, they call him visionary. When a woman dares to dream beyond her limits, she becomes a problem. Melody has been labeled, judged, mocked, but she stopped apologizing a long time ago. Because every time she made herself smaller to fit someone else's comfort, she lost a piece of her power. Now, she refuses to shrink. She speaks her truth, even when her voice trembles, and that, right there, is revolutionary. Her children saw everything. The sleepless nights. The heartbreaks. The grind that nobody clapped for. They saw her cry, and then show up like nothing happened. And in that, they learned the most powerful truth of all, success is not glamorous. It is gritty. It is not about applause, it is about discipline. It is built in the silence, when no one is watching, when no one believes, when you only have yourself to rely on. That is the legacy she is passing on. Not fame. Not fortune. But fortitude. The mindset that turned struggle into empire. Still, the criticism never stops. It never does. There are always those who think they know her story better than she does, as if her life is just another tabloid headline waiting for commentary clicks. They whisper about her ambition. They question her motives. They assume she is chasing relevance, when in reality, she is chasing impact. Because Melody's dream was never just to be seen, it was to be remembered. She wanted her story to mean something. She wanted her struggle to count for something. She wanted the single mother working 2 jobs to look at her and think, maybe I can do it too. She wanted the girl from the small town, the one told her dreams were too big, to realize dreams do not have zip codes. She wanted every person who has ever felt invisible to understand, you matter. Your story matters. You can rise. There is something magnetic about people who have walked through fire and learned to dance in the ashes. Melody is one of them. She does not hide her scars, she wears them like medals. Because every scar is proof that she lived through something that was meant to destroy her, and still came out shining. That is why people gravitate toward her. Not for the fame, not for the aesthetics, but for the authenticity. For the human story behind the highlight reel. Ask her what drives her, and she will not mention money or followers. She will talk about purpose. She will talk about proving to herself that she could, and teaching her children that they can. Because success means nothing if it is not built with integrity. Her story is not perfect. It is messy. It is human. It is real, and that is what makes it legendary. Because this is not just a story of fame. It is a story of transformation. A woman who turned pain into power, doubt into drive, failure into fuel. Now, standing at the peak of her journey, she does not see herself as untouchable, she sees herself as grateful. Grateful that the sleepless nights meant something. Grateful that her children are walking through doors she once had to break down. Grateful that the little girl who once dreamed in the dark is finally standing in her own light. The world may never truly understand what it took for Melody to get here, the exhaustion, the pressure, the loneliness. But maybe they are not supposed to. Because her story was not written to be understood. It was written to inspire. So when people gossip, speculate, and criticize, Melody does not waste her breath defending herself. She just smiles, because she knows something they do not. Real power does not make noise. It moves in silence. It is fueled by love, driven by purpose, and built by pain that refused to break her. For every door that slammed in her face, she built another. For every voice that doubted her, she became living proof that they were wrong. And for every little girl watching, wondering if she is enough, Melody Shari is the whisper in her ear saying, you can do it too. Because in the end, her story is not just hers, it is ours. The story of falling, breaking, healing, and rising higher than before. A story that proves, the world owes you nothing, but you owe it to yourself to keep fighting anyway. And that is what makes Melody Shari extraordinary. Not the fame. Not the fortune. But the fire that never went out, even when life tried its hardest to extinguish it. And that is what makes this moment so powerful. Because it is not about the glitz. It is not about the flashing lights or the cameras. It is about something deeper. It is about family. It is about watching your children rise beyond your pain, beyond your past, and into something extraordinary. Melody's children are not just a success story, they are hope in human form. Hope that even after heartbreak, something beautiful can still grow from the ruins. Hope that even when the odds are stacked against you, your faith can still build bridges where walls once stood. That is what real strength looks like. Not perfection. But persistence. Not a flawless life, but the courage to rebuild one shattered piece at a time. Healing is not always dramatic. It does not always roar in triumph. Sometimes, it is quiet. Sometimes, it is the moment you choose to get up when your body begs you to give up. It is in the breath you take after crying yourself empty. It is in the silence of survival. Because when you really think about it, this was never just a Hollywood story. It was a story of transformation. A story about a woman who turned loss into lessons, betrayal into blueprint, and heartbreak into heritage. Melody could have surrendered years ago. But she did not. She kept fighting. She kept believing. She kept building. Her pain became her children's power. Her tears became their soil. Her struggle became their strength. Every disappointment built the bridge they now walk across. Every no turned into a not yet. And every moment she thought it was over, was simply the setup for something greater. Because that is the truth about people like Melody Shari, they do not just survive, they reinvent. They take brokenness and make it beautiful. They take chaos and turn it into clarity. They take pain and forge it into purpose. Maybe that is the real Hollywood magic, not the red carpets or the glittering awards, but the legacy of resilience passed from mother to child. A legacy that whispers, I have walked through hell, and yet here I stand, stronger, softer, wiser. Her children carry that same fire now. That quiet determination that says, no matter what life throws at me, I will rise. Because that is the power of example, not what you preach, but how you live. Melody never needed to lecture her kids about strength, she embodied it. And now, they are not just her reflection, they are her continuation. Proof that love, when strong enough, can outlast pain. Proof that faith, when held tightly enough, can rewrite destinies. Proof that even the most wounded hearts can still raise warriors. Healing does not erase scars, it honors them. It says, yes, this happened. But it did not end me. Melody's life breathes that truth. Every step she takes carries the weight of nights when she cried herself to sleep, mornings when she questioned her worth, and days when she wondered if she would ever smile again. But she did. And that smile? It changed. It became softer, wiser, unbreakable. Because once you have walked through fire and survived, you no longer chase validation. You no longer beg to be seen. You realize your worth was never up for debate. Her children saw all of it, the tears, the triumphs, the transformation. And in witnessing her resilience, they learned the truth that most people spend a lifetime searching for. Strength is not the absence of pain. It is the decision to keep going through it. They are her heartbeat, beating beyond her own story. Every time they rise, a piece of her soul rises with them. Every time they stumble and get back up, her spirit smiles in recognition. Because the greatest inheritance she has ever given them is not money or fame, it is emotional armor. It is the strength to stand in a storm and say, I come from someone who never quit. And that is what makes this moment feel bigger than Hollywood. Because what we are witnessing is generational healing, a cycle breaking in real time. We are watching a woman who once lived in survival mode finally breathe. We are watching her children thrive in the world she once feared would crush them. We are watching love, not luck, rewrite an entire lineage. That is something no camera can fully capture, the sacred, invisible transformation of the human spirit. It is easy to look at Melody now, radiant, unshakable, and forget what it took to stand in that light. But behind that glow are 1,000 untold battles. The nights she pieced herself back together alone. The moments she had to fake a smile just to survive another day. The times she loved people who broke her, and still chose not to become bitter. That is her greatest art. She turned her wounds into wisdom, her pain into purpose, her brokenness into beauty. And that is why people connect to her so deeply, because somewhere in every one of us, there is a piece of Melody Shari. The broken part. The brave part. The part that refuses to quit. Her story reminds us that pain is not pointless, it is preparation. That our scars are not shameful, they are sacred. That our darkest nights can become our brightest dawns. Her children now carry that same truth, the understanding that success is not about perfection but progress. That love is not weakness, it is power. That the past does not define them, it refines them. Because resilience, once learned, becomes a family